Hey, my friends, it's Matt. Thanks for hanging out with me on my YouTube channel. I just found something really cool at the coin shop, and I wanted to sit right down and show you this thing. This is a Persian coin that dates to the era of Queen Esther in the Bible, either the era when she was alive or the era when her story was written down. I can't quite tell. I mean, I know it's a Persian silver coin. That's the empire that was in charge when Ezra and Nehemiah and Esther, when those stories unfold in the Bible. And so this could be a coin that dates to the age of King Xerxes, which would be early in the 4th or 5th century, rather, BC. That's the king of the book of Esther. Or it could be a little later on during the reign of Artaxerxes or maybe Darius II. The coins kind of look the same, and this one's really worn down, so it's hard to tell. But what we got here is maybe some kind of warrior. It looks like there's maybe a little bit of a faint outline of a crown here. So it might be a king. Looks like maybe he has something in his hands, but also you can see here, it got stamped later on. And if I understand correctly, that was an indicator that this was valid currency. It was like reaffirming that this old currency was still good. And then there's some kind of marking on the backside, and maybe it's an animal, a lion or something. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. Size-wise, it's a really small piece of silver. Compare it to an SD card, maybe. That gives you sort of an idea. Got a battery here. How about that? A coin, an actual, like a familiar American coin would be better. There you are. There is a US quarter. You can compare it to that, but it's way girthier than a quarter, much, much thicker. And these coins were made of silver. So acknowledging that this is from probably somewhere in the 5th century, it's hard to say exactly when, it takes my brain to a bunch of cool possibilities about what this coin might have been used for in the stories in the actual Bible. And the first place that my brain goes is Esther chapter 3, where the bad guy in the story, Haman, he's an age-old or descended from an age-old enemy of the Jewish people, the Amalekites or the Agagites. And Haman comes to power and uses his power to manipulate King Xerxes to let him issue an edict to kill all of the Jewish people. And it's a horrible, ugly moment. It's an ugly incident. And Esther 3 describes the exchange between the two. Xerxes is so flippant and distracted, and Haman is so manipulative. But in the course of this interaction between the two, Haman offers Xerxes a ton of money in the form of silver, possibly coins just like this. It says, Esther 3, verse 8, "Then Haman said to King Xerxes, 'There is a certain people dispersed and scattered among the peoples in all the provinces of your kingdom, whose customs are different from those of all the other people, and do not obey the king's laws. It's not in the king's best interest to tolerate them. If it pleases the king, let a decree be issued to destroy them, and I will put 10,000 talents,'" that's the modern money, it's like $250 million in silver. "I will put 10,000 talents of silver into the royal treasury for the men who carry out this business." So the king took his signet ring from his finger and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. "Keep the money," the king said to Haman, "and do with the people as you please." So I just wonder, was this in the treasury of Haman, the second most powerful person in the Persian Empire during the rule of King Xerxes? Was this part of the hoard that Haman was offering because he was that committed to defeating the Jewish people, to wiping them out? And then this coin, if so, then this coin comes up again a little bit later on when the tables are turned and Haman is defeated, outmaneuvered by crafty, shrewd Queen Esther. And then the king reassigns the wealth of Haman, the whole estate, to Esther, and Esther puts Mordecai in charge of running all of that. And so maybe this coin wasn't just in the treasury of Haman, the enemy of the Jews. Maybe this got flipped around, and this coin was in the treasury of Esther and Mordecai, in which case this physical little piece of silver from so long ago with barely discernible marks on it becomes a physical representation of the plot line of a book of the Bible, which is the providential reversal of evil toward good on the part of God, who never even actually gets mentioned in the book of Esther, but who is clearly the one who is at work. That's just wild to think about. Ezra and Nehemiah have a big time span that they cover. The beginning of Ezra deals with stuff that predates the book of Esther back to the reign of Cyrus in the 500s BC, and then it takes us up into the reign of Darius, and then it takes us forward all the way to the reign of Artaxerxes, and Nehemiah does the same. And in those books, we get a couple of different edicts from different kings who are like, hey, we're going to use money to fund this project. In particular, I think of, Ezra 6, Ezra 4. I sat down and did this. I'm excited. I didn't prepare very well. Forgive me. It is Ezra 6. Yeah, there it is. Forgive me. And in this particular passage, Darius, the father of King Xerxes, the king of the book of Esther, he finds out that Cyrus, his predecessor, had issued a decree to say that the temple could be rebuilt in Jerusalem, but work had stalled. People forgot the decree. Now Darius rediscovered the decree, and he issues this enthusiastic decree saying, nope, let that temple be rebuilt, and let it be built to these dimensions, and you can use these large stones and timbers. The costs are to be paid by the royal treasury. That is in verse 4 of Ezra 6, which records a decree from Darius. It's kind of wild that Darius, in that sense, is kind of one of the authors of the Bible. And it's possible that this money was part of the money that was used to pay for the rebuilding of the temple. Well, in that case, this little piece of metal right here in my hand tells quite a story there as well. Is it possible that over in Nehemiah, when Nehemiah, who's the cupbearer to Artaxerxes, who is the son of Xerxes, the grandson of Darius, Nehemiah, who's a Jewish guy, he finds out that the walls aren't up in Jerusalem, and he's sad about it. And Artaxerxes is like, all right, well, you can go and take a trip, go and get that rebuilt and put back together. Is this representative of some of the money that was used by Nehemiah to fund the rebuilding of the wall? I don't know. It's just cool. It's 2,500 years ago. And some of this stuff, very little of it, a tiny little percentage from this civilization, from the Persian era of the Bible, has trickled down through time to some clown like me sitting in his basement who just found this and was able to buy it at the coin shop. And now I can hold this physical reminder, this physical representation of the reality of this era of stories in the Bible that happened with real people in real places at real times. And I get to sit here and to speculate about what role this little piece of silver might have played in the unfolding of God's redemptive plan. I just think that's the coolest thing ever. And I'm so grateful that you would care enough about stuff like this to sit here with me and let me gush about it a little bit. All right. That's plenty for now. I'm Matt. Thanks for hanging out with me on my YouTube channel. Let's do this again soon.